I'm Marty, and you're back with Warehouse and Operations as a Career. A few listeners did not have a problem pointing out last week that we did not make it to a few of the shipping and transportation positions. So I thought we'd start off there today. So we wrapped up last week with the loader position. That's really the last physical position on the warehouse side, so let's take a look at where those cases go from there. It may be prudent to talk a little bit on how and why they ended up on that particular load too. So when the customer's orders for the shift are loaded into our WMS, and as we all know, that stands for Warehouse Management System, a component of that is reconfiguring the selected freight back into pallets or loads. One of our transportation department's tasks is routing. The routers will work with computer programs that efficiently define how a load will be delivered. It'll take things like delivery windows or when the customer wants to take delivery of and or receive their orders. Now it's also going to make allowances for cube and weight. A trailer will only hold X number of cases and can only carry so much weight. And of course, our miles are going to be important too. It'll try and only route what can physically be delivered within the shift of the driver. Remember that delivery drivers have to abide by the Department of Transportation rules, or DOT rules. They can only drive X number of hours and are required to have so much time off after exceeding those hours. So our routers will build or designate a route based on a lot of variables each day. All of these tasks typically are going to fall under the shipping departments. When I was routing back in the late 70s or early 80s, I used an old Mapsco, or a big book of maps that listed the block numbers and all the street crossings. Back then, we didn't have all these great computer systems. Drivers didn't have GPS in the palm of their hands. Every driver just carried a Mapsco in their truck. Shoot, back in those days, we all had maps in our glove compartments. Anyway, today's routing programs are very complex systems and can take just about any information you can think of to feed into it and produce a very time and fuel efficient route for you to follow as a delivery driver. The WMS will produce those loads or the product comprising those loads and make a load map for the loaders to know which pallets to place on each trailer, and not only in what order, but their positioning as well, or which way they need to be turned even. This process is really important because we want the driver to easily be able to find each stop for that next delivery. If the selectors have placed each case in its proper position and on the correct pallet, and then the loader properly placed the pallets according to his load map, then the driver can locate the cases for each stop really easily and make his or her delivery quickly, allowing the customer to get back to their business. Routing is one of those critical jobs. It carries a lot of responsibility and it's really important. Drivers, our company's salesmen, and customers depend on the job that we're doing. I enjoyed my time as a router, but that pressure, every shift. I know guys that's been doing it for like 12 or 13 years, and it works for them. Thankfully, I only had to do it for 3 years. I lived off coffee to keep me focused. So let's talk about shipping. Shipping can be a large department in certain industries. It can include packing products to be picked up by a parcel service, or making arrangements for an LTL, meaning less than truckload freight, things like that. That'll include banding product, wrapping it securely, etc., and filling out the bill of ladings for the carrier. We'll probably be responsible for loading the trailer ourselves for the common carriers or the owner-operators. And we'll be using all kinds of supplies too. Bubble wrap, maybe we'll have to fold out and tape up several different size boxes. Oh, and those little clingy peanut packing things. I was once responsible for filling up our gravity-fed bags with those things. If you've never seen them, they come in a large, really big bag, like 5 feet tall, and I don't know, maybe 4 foot across. I'd lower the big tarp bag. It was on a pulley system of some kind, so I'd lower it and start filling it up, kind of figuring out a way to raise the tarp bag as I was, putting the peanut things in it. Seemed like it never failed. I'd be there alone every time that I needed to fill it. Anyway, once I had it about half full and I dropped the pulley rope. Those things went everywhere, floating around like 25 feet. It took 4 of us to clean up that mess, and we were finding those little peanut things for months. Anyway, working in the shipping departments, we'll be working closely with management. Maybe the sales floor, and of course a few of our warehouse positions. Maybe the forklift drivers and the pallet jack operators. With these experience, we could move to the production shifts or maybe even sales. If we've already been through some type of equipment task or production work, a lead or supervisor position may be our next step. One of the positions, well, really a few positions, that kind of get overlooked are those out at the fleet areas. I know a lot of facilities may outsource some of them, but someone is handling them, and the same opportunities apply either way, really. One of those is the washout and fueler task. I see them put together quite often. That's where an associate will take a tractor and trailer over to the wash bay or an area where the trailer can be swept out and, hosed off. All industries will require a trailer to be cleaned before it is loaded out. That same employee may then run it over to the fuel pumps and fill the tractor's tanks and the refrigeration fuel tanks too. And what about all the PM or preventative maintenance mechanics, like the brake guys and the diesel mechanics? Oh, and the tire guys. Tires are checked constantly, especially on the trailers. There's nothing worse for a delivery or route driver waiting on the side of the road, waiting on a tire man to show up. I personally never had the opportunity to work in the fleet positions. I interacted with them while I was in transportation, but I always felt a little, slighted there. I wish I'd had at least worked out there for a little while. I'd have learned a lot more about the transportation equipment, and I definitely missed an opportunity on my part. Another very important position is our returns clerk. This is the person that confirms any shorts or misships that the driver may have notated on the customer's invoices when he comes back. Or let's say a customer decided they did not need something, or maybe a case was damaged during transit. The driver will issue a credit right from the invoice. Our returns clerk will verify those credits, unload what has been returned, and get with accounting or our inventory control departments so adjustments can be made for billing. This is really a great position, and one that may be hired off the street occasionally or promoted from within. I've seen drivers and driver supervisors, even order selectors, move into these positions. Now, we're usually directed by the transportation departments, but I've seen them report to finance or even through the CFO before. This is one of those jobs, there's going to be a little manual labor involved, but the important aspect of the task is the reporting and communication skills needed. I really like this job. I wasn't there very long, but man, I learned a lot about billing and customer service. It's perfect for that driver wanting to come off the road or a transportation team member looking for a little less stressful position. Working so closely with inventory control in the accounting departments is really going to afford us some great networking opportunities. I love how all of our operations positions can take us towards other fields and other positions. One interesting thing, or I find interesting anyway, is how our delivery drivers may be checked in these days. There used to be a check-in clerk that would reconcile the driver's cash, checks, and money orders against the invoices that they brought back. Many facilities today use what is called a reverse ATM machine. This is really pretty slick. Once our driver's returns clerk has signed off on the driver's returns and adjusted invoicing, the driver will go over to a machine and it looks just like an ATM. Instead of providing a PIN number to withdraw money, he or she will put in their driver number and route number, insert their checks, money orders, and any cash, and it'll give him or her a receipt. They then open a drawer and places the invoices into a tray, and that's it. They're done. Accounting is going to reconcile it all and corrects any billing accordingly. That's pretty slick, huh? Well, there's a few of the available positions in shipping and transportation. I guess we could talk about the driving positions, but let's save that for an episode all by itself. There's so many different kinds of driving positions out there, it's really a huge field. We'll try and break that down in the near future, though. Well, I guess that's enough for today, and please email us at host@warehouseandoperationsasacareer.com if I can answer or look up the answers for any questions you may have about any of these positions. You may find a real quick answer could come from our Facebook or Twitter feeds, where you can find our group using that little @ WHSEANDOPS, or drop in on the Warehouse Equipment Operators Community group on Facebook. I bet someone there can get you an answer from their own personal experiences. Until next week, let's all think about our next position. Plan for it, and be safe out there so we can obtain it.